Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton and Adam here as we are every Tuesday. How you
We're
feeling today,
just
bud?
first names now. It's like Sonny and Cher.
Yeah.
Is
Which one?
that where we're at?
Well, I guess I'd get to be the guy because I'm the shorter one in that situation. So I'll be
And
Sonny
I
to
have
your Cher, but you
and I
better get
have
working on
bosoms.
that weight loss if you're going to be Cher.
Uh,
Um,
two runs in the last 2 nights. Have done 10
yeah. So you have a big
kilometers.
marathon coming up, right?
Not a marathon. It's a 5K.
Dude, you haven't
There's,
run more than 1K in your whole life. It's a marathon.
if they parked the ice cream truck at Oshwegan a little farther from the tower, we could make that work.
I don't mean to throw shade. You just have a lot of it, you know?
I throw a lot of shade. You sat next to me. That's why your lower half didn't get a tan in Mexico. You sat on the wrong side, but your
Let's talk
forehead sure did.
let's talk a bit about Motorama before we bring Tony Spiteri on. We got Junior Farley coming on as well as Larry Jackson tonight. So we got three great guests coming up. Going to be on to talk about NASCAR and what they've got planned as they prep for the opener May 13th at Sunset, which we're hoping to be behind the mic, which I think we still are. I'm just kidding. Let's talk about but Motorama was great, Adam. And thanks to all you viewers who came up to me and said, all these great comments over the weekend while we were there. Adam had some great people stop by too. It's just nice to see that people are paying attention, Adam. And, someone came up to me and said, how many bananas do you have to eat? Well, that's obviously our inside joke. I said I'd eat one banana for every pound you lose. So I think we're around 38 and a half, 40 now.
No, we're closer to 30 than 40. It's been a long lull, but things are going well. 30 pounds is 30 pounds. I wanted to be around 50 by now. I actually think I will be 50 pounds down by the time we get to Oshwegan's opening day. So it's going to be a big finish. And
That's
it was
awesome, man.
great. I want to talk about Motorama a little bit in that I'm so happy for Greg McPherson and the Inside Track team. And they've got a lot of people that work with them. I didn't see Bob Sumac, but I trusted he was still working. I saw Bob Palatachuk, like a lot of the gang that chips in at that show. It really felt like the Motorama of old. It felt to me like Performance World, which was way back in the day. I really enjoyed the vibe over the weekend. I enjoyed seeing the people, even the people who took the time out of their schedule to come up and let Clint record them saying they can't stand Adam Ross. You know what?
Oh,
In order to dislike Adam Ross, you have to watch. So, thank you.
it was
The
great.
character,
It was great.
yeah,
At least
it
three,
was, it
at
was.
least three ladies came up to me and said, Adam is an idiot. And I said, can I get that on video? That is classic. Anyways, show a couple pictures, Spencer, then we're going to jump into Tony. Busy guy. Don't want to waste too much more of his time. But that just to look at the crowd, Adam. Some great shots, some beautiful cars. It was just cool to see, as you said, to get everybody back there and fill the place up. These are pictures I took super early in the morning as I was just walking through there because that's the best time to get pictures because as you can
Super,
see, it was a
super
boom after
early in
that.
the super early in the morning, 9:45.
Well, I mean, the show opened at 10, so I was super
Super,
early.
super early.
Hey, I was on time. That is super early for me.
I'm
Anyways,
proud
great
of you.
crowds. Let's jump into Tony Spiteri, who, is kind of like our Uncle Tony or the Godfather. But when this image first came on Tone, me and Adam
I
both started laughing because I was like, oh my goodness. Tony thought you looked like a priest. Or Adam thought you looked like a priest. I thought you looked like the Godfather. Either way, we
little of
got you
both.
here. Yeah.
Well, we just got back into the house, boys. I was going to take it from the office, but I made a mad break, and I do apologize. It'll get more Godfather-esque because there's 3 cats running around here, so there might be one coming across my desk in a minute.
You've become a crazy cat lady?
No, I haven't. Honestly, they're adopted. But on that note, though, Adam, there's a couple of things before we get into the good stuff, guys. A couple of birthday wishes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
So you talked about Motorama. Jennifer Hatch with Mr. Kenny McNeil. Jennifer's birthday today. So happy birthday, Jennifer. As well as Kevin Lacroix in the NASCAR Pinty Series. Kevin celebrating a birthday today. Adam, I knew a little bit about our weight loss goals. I'm a little bit ahead of you. I'm at 49 this morning, 49 and a quarter this morning. However, Francesca, my daughter, celebrating her birthday this week. And she actually left a little bit of cake. I told her about the whole situation with your weight loss.
Ooh.
So I'm putting this in the freezer for after your giant run because I think you could afford a few extra calories after that. Is that a good deal?
I appreciate it. And Tony, you do look great. I I had to do a double take on it. It used to be because we generally have kind of a handshake hug sort of thing, and it takes a lot of reach to get around the two of us. And now, like, we're like a couple of after pictures.
I don't know about that, buddy.
I
don't know
know.
what
So, Tony, that's got to be rewarding. I mean, Adam's going through it now, and people just notice the change. It's got to be rewarding. Congrats on you. You told me it's about a year's journey. We take everything seriously. We're just one big family here, so it's great to see you successful in that endeavor as well.
Thank you,
And
buddy.
before we
Same
get
thing.
in, a happy birthday to John Casale. 79 years old.
Yeah,
Cake
that's right.
delivered by the Hooters girls, as is tradition. And Tony, no offense, but John Casale is like he's in my top 1.5 favorite people in motorsports. He's something
Has to be.
special.
Has to be. And you talk about big hugs. I love shaking John's hand. Just absolutely love it because you're putting your hand in a ball glove, right? But
Yep.
Yeah, he's got you.
And same thing too, guys. You opening commentary on Motorama. I did hear some stuff that might help support your position. Literally the busiest Motorama, I guess, in the history of the thing. A lot of folks are saying the same things. I did have a chance to talk to some of the vendors. One vendor in particular, actually, in our series as well, busiest trade show / car show they've ever been in. They actually sold more merchandise than they have at any other show in 25 plus years. So kudos to Greg and Dave and the group there. Love partnering with them and love what they do for our series and for motorsports in Canada.
So the pleasantries done, Tony. Let's talk NASCAR racing in Canada because every season I say this, after the longest off season in the history of Canadian motorsports, it seems the countdown is on. We're less than 2 months away from opening day at Sunset Speedway. And it's just like the old bumper sticker said, when the green flag drops, the bullshit stops. The Motorama show is kind of the green flag of the Canadian race season, in my opinion.
Yeah, the unofficial opening of the season. Yeah, we're less than 2 months away. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Series director, tech director, all to be announced here in the coming days. Really, really cool stuff. New officials coming on, a combination of new officials as well as bringing back some officials that, in my mind, give me a lot of comfort as to where we're going. With all due respect to everything that's been going on in the past. But I think having some of that around us is really, really cool. One of the things we heard loudest, coming out of last year, the competition was fantastic, but just not tightening up the rule book, but tightening up how what's the right word? Not police it, but how we marshal it. So I'm really happy with what I see happening there. So I look at that one as being a positive. On the marketing side, we're really blessed with NASCAR International in that our budgets were approved. So we're going to have some room to actually bring on some more talent to help on the marketing side. So for most fans, we get to leverage everything that's happening in the U.S. With the big mothership, obviously, and leverage the best of that. But the real intent is to invest in the Canadian marketplace and invest in a domestic team that can run this business. And we're sort of happy to do that. So we'll be on the hunt here very, very shortly for some full-time folks to help us on the marketing side and on the sanctioning front. From a track perspective, the schedule looks a lot like it did the previous year. We're adding an extra date to the Oshweekend race. Our desire is to obviously expand our dirt footprint, and we're well underway to do that for sure in the 2024 season. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It's kind of cool. OEM meetings that are happening right now, new sponsors that are contemplating coming into the series. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we unfortunately don't get to talk about a lot.
Tony, let's talk about the diversity of the teams. And from this perspective, I mean, Larry Jackson is very important to the series, and he'll be on the show later, just as much as an Ed Hackinson would be or a Scott Steckley. And, there's so many personalities in this. And I know you come from the corporate world, but are you shocked by all the politicking that goes on and all of the different attitudes and desires and agendas that are behind the scenes? Because I feel it when I deal with all the tours, all the guys I have to deal with. Like at Oshweekend, we got 140 teams some nights. So there's a lot of agendas, I like to call it. And that's the core of what we try and figure out. But, when I think about racing, it's the one deal. And, Pinty's notwithstanding, but in a bigger deal like Oshweekend, we have kids, we have senior citizens, we have high school dropouts against doctors. We have rich against poor. We put everybody in a bowl, stir it up, and expect everybody to get along. So, how are you dealing with all the agendas, let's say?
Well, I guess I would say learning. I mean, I think that the big difference in motorsports versus the corporate world is kind of, if you're sitting there in the corporate world, there's almost like a decorum that goes along with it. I would say that what we have to consider, our role at NASCAR, we're there for the fans. And I think one of the things that we can't lose sight of is we're there to build something that fans want to watch, and that inevitably we get to market collectively, both us as NASCAR as well as the teams. So the agendas are pretty vast. I mean, we could talk about, my God, like one of the storylines was adding tracks this year, which for us on the NASCAR front is fantastic. It's incremental revenue, it's a larger audience, but what we have to do is we have to balance the needs of not just a few teams, but kind of the greater good, and that gets you in a little bit of hot water, right? I mean, one of the best quotes I got two really, really cool quotes. One senior executive at NASCAR, when we put the deal together, and he shook my hand, he said, "Okay, now you're part of our side. You'll become I don't know, I can't know if I can use the right word, but you'll become a bit of a slow person here by the time this next year rolls around. And if 50% of the garage are giving you Christmas cards, you're doing better than most." And so it's a little bit different. You talk about the haves and the have-nots. I don't look at it that way. I look at it more like, how do we keep the playing field fair, and how do we let the most teams be able to compete at the highest level? Clinton, your example is a great one. We had a transmission issue. On one end, I've got folks that are trying to use up inventory of transmissions. On the other end, I've got some teams lobbying to go to a sequential transmission, similar to what we're using in Cup. The transmission would cost about half the value of some of our competitors' cars. So you do the best you can to balance it. I think the biggest thing that's been an adjustment for me in this role is that, like I said, in the corporate world, there's a decorum about, hey, we've got competing business interests, but let's find a common path. And I think what's different in motorsports is kind of anybody's liable to go onto social media and say, look, this isn't right, or whatever, and cause a bit of a storm. But it's okay. It's a learning. I encourage anybody who's ever contemplating a role, man, take stuff that'll put you, don't make you vulnerable, but put you in places where you're learning. Just because I've been in the corporate world 30 plus years doesn't mean I have all the answers when it comes to motor racing. I've just been a fan, and I've been an investor. Now I'm looking at it from a very different lens.
Tony, what challenges me sometimes is our race season goes from the middle of May to the middle of September.
Right.
We have much more time away from the track than we have at the track. But when you recall how you feel when you walk down the grid at Trois Rivières, or when you walk through the grandstands in Edmonton or Saskatoon or Newfoundland last year, we sometimes forget the elation that the fans feel when the show arrives to them. And that's where I think the challenge lies.
Yeah. Oops.
Did we lose Adam there?
I think we lost Adam.
Well, I think where he was going, Tony, is, it's when you walk down through all those grids and you've got all these people there with you. What's that feel like? And for me, it was almost like the Beatles were coming to town. When I came back and I explained to everybody what it was like to be in Newfoundland, it was, hey, like DJ Kennington came to us. And I think a lot of the Ontario race fans kind of take that for granted, how big this series is outside of the saturation point we've got there. Adam, jump back in there. I was trying to pick it up from you. We lost you.
Yeah, so it was actually the smartest thing I was ever going to say in the 190 episodes. But the point was, you're in the trenches, Tony, and people within the business 12 months out of the year, extra hours, late nights. You have to remember that feeling. That's why we do it. When the gates open and the people are excited, and they're going to pick on the kids. When the kids come out and they're there for the autograph sessions, you know what? It's a higher high than you can imagine. And then you got to keep that alive for 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, but Adam and Clinton, I'm not saying this to blow smoke, but I don't want to call it a gap, but that's the gap that people like you are filling. I mean, I go to Operation Green Flag, in the worst time of, at least I hope that's the worst time of our generation, right? not knowing what tomorrow lies. And, the whole idea of let's bring racing back. I get this story often. Chad Siegler tells me this story once a month when I just say to him, Chad, like, well, how do you come across this situation? And he always reminds me, he says, actually, he was sitting right here in this office. He said, we were shutting the NASCAR Pinty Series down. We had a choice to make at NASCAR. And it was a phone call that happened in this office. And we said, no, like, even if it's annotated, let's go, let's do something. And you don't think about it now, but you kind of reflect on it and you go, there was no fans. The model, there was no model. We're not selling hot dogs. We're not selling soda pop. We're going to do this and keep racing in front of people. So it's that kind of stuff, Adam, that keeps you going. The cool part for me is, look, we've said very openly, from Steve O'Donnell, Chad Siegler, all the way down, we've said very, very openly that the model itself has to change. The product on the track, we want to just continue to get better. If I had $1 for every time I hear when I'm in meetings stateside that the best racing in all of NASCAR is actually the NASCAR Pinty Series, and I'm talking some pretty senior folks that are saying that, not to patronize me, but the racing is fantastic. The part of the model we have to change is kind of like the business end of it, the business model of it. One of the things we want to do that I haven't been able to get off the table yet is I want to put together committees that we can actually have open two-way communication back and forth. And we're still looking to do that. It's just that, guess what? As you said, the season came to an end. And one of the things that's really cool is most fans go away and the teams go to their garages. And everybody thinks that we at NASCAR just sit there and go, okay, well, we'll be back in May. That might have been the model. That's not the model this year. We've worked all the way through the wintertime, whether it be creating new sanctions or creating new partnerships, whatever it may be. So, yeah, I look forward to it. But truthfully, it's a challenge right now. But honestly, what I see in front of us is I'm still just as excited as I was a year ago.
Tony, as we get toward the season, what's something you're looking forward to? I mean, we have some new teams coming in. You've got some new programs coming down the pipe. What gets you excited looking forward to May 13th and beyond?
The storylines, Clinton, like the absolute storylines. Brand new motor, the 525 Yates motor. It's less than half the cost of our existing motor. And we're going to have a field that allows folks to use up the existing motor as well as put this motor into place. If our testing is right, which we believe it is a game changer. So that's one storyline. Second storyline, yeah, man, it is cool to watch existing teams. We're filled, like we have the Hendricks teams. I'd say, teams like Team 3 and, teams like Steckley and DJ and that, which are stalwarts and high performing teams in the series. We've also got our Trackhouse type racing, right? We've got MBS coming in and some of the newer teams. So it's actually really, really cool. That's another storyline I want to follow. There's also I say it myself, there's the mature part versus some of the upstarts. We're doing some promotional work right now with our entitlement sponsor, and it's really, really cool to watch them call out talent that they want to use, and they're going across section. They're going the family side, the younger side. So those are some interesting storylines. I think what's also going to be interesting for us guys is that we're committed to having the 2024 schedule by late June, early July. And the reason I'm excited about that is, as a former sponsor, I used to always scratch my head as to why we were talking about sponsorship in October and November. Because by the time October and November rolls around, we're kind of already through our budgets. So most corporations in Canada have already, outlined what they want to spend. So I think one of the things that is a real highlight for me this year is if we can get that schedule out and then encourage the teams to bring their potential sponsors to the racetrack. I mean, think about it this way, Clinton. We could put an invitation out to every team to bring one new potential sponsor to the Oshweekend race over 2 nights. It's a Monday and Tuesday night. It's a work night. And if they could bring somebody new, Lord knows what could happen. So those are 3 small storylines that I think are kind of cool.
I don't know where to go from there, Tony, because the excitement is there. I mean, the 3 of us could sit here and talk all night because the excitement remains. And I know the fans are itching to get out to the racetrack. And I often joke about this, but I actually mean it. I don't pay much attention until a week or 2 before opening day because my job at the racetrack really starts on opening day. That's when I've got to be there and I need the knowledge. And if you start listening to what's going on in October, November, even through Motorama, you're not going to have the right facts when they happen on opening day, which is what makes this so much fun. It is a moving target, and I'm sure you knew that when you stepped into the role.
It is, buddy. Can I really quickly, Adam, you're asking about what gets you excited about the sport and what keeps you going, right? So just absolutely neutral. I got a couple of things I'll show you here real quick from fans. So I used to get this back in the old days where fans would stop you just to have a chat, and especially on the curling front, they just wanted to thank you for investing in their sport. So this is, and you'll love this because we're both dieting right now. I didn't know this story, by the way, Adam. This is a bag, Junior Johnson. I don't know if you can see that or if your fans could see that.
Yeah.
So
Junior Johnson brand country ham.
You got it. So this was given to me by a fan as a bit of a thank you, and it was it's basically a bagged ham product that was actually signed by Junior Johnson. This individual was so excited about what's going on in the series. He said, my family have been friends with Junior Johnson for a lot of years. They were actually invited to his Hall of Fame night, his Hall of Fame induction. So I just want to show you that, just give you an idea of what makes race fans different, what gets me excited. He not only brought me the program for that night, which was the one Junior was holding, because if you look right up at the top here, it's actually got his signature on it.
Uh-huh.
But he actually brought me his hard card.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So, are there days where you sit there and scratch your head, boys, and go, oh boy, like what is going on with this? I've never seen something like this before. Then you end up with a single fan who says, hi, Mr. Spiteri, finds you on social media, and he says, I know this is awkward. Is it okay if we kind of get together for a bit? I've got a couple of things to give you. And in most instances, if you explain that story to most folks in sports marketing, they'd say, crazy fan, right? This individual walks up and touches your heart and says, please put your head down, keep going. Like, this is going to be huge when we get this all figured out. So I keep that here in the office. And when the phone gets deep and there's 3 or 4 phone calls going and you're stacking and packing them, I kind of pull those things out and go, this is what makes you get up in the morning. This is the stuff that, and I know I'm preaching to the converted, because all someone's got to do is watch you guys at a track, or worse yet, watch you do this show. They know you do. They know the passion you have. Anyway,
we live for this stuff, and that's what I had forgotten where I was going. But the promos, Clinton, did we get them?
Yeah, I think we got one to run here, but I got 2 questions for Tony. Then we'll run the promo and let him get out of here. Tony, first off, Jim Bray. I know you're a historian. I seen you hanging out with Jim on the weekend. You were across from us from the Ushweekend booth. I saw you holding court pretty much. There's a lineup for people to talk to, but a guy like Jim Bray, I've come to really embrace Jimmy, 90-year-old Jimmy lately. He's been great. Having him around is important for the sport. Why?
So the way that came together, guys, we at NASCAR, we were really attempting to have a big showing at Motorama. There's a really crazy story about what happened to the booth that we used. Remember the booth we used a few years ago, guys, when we had Pinty's on one side and NASCAR on the other? It actually got flooded in the storage unit. NASCAR, we've been paying for that to be stored. About 4 weeks ago, we found out, hey, this thing might not be complete, and we had to make the executive decision. So we already made a commitment, because I think, and you guys know the story, it's pretty important to celebrate the legacy of NASCAR in Canada. And I asked Jim if he would display his car in exchange for me doing some hero cards and paying for him to bring the car. I get choked up thinking about it, paying to bring him up. And he said, I don't want any of your money. Like, I just want to do that. And 90-year-old guy, he told stories for 3 days. He literally told story to fans. I was bringing fans over to him. And it's crazy. Saturday night, I actually called down south and I said, guys, I need a favor, because nothing I can do or say is gonna make Jim feel good. This is what's going on right now. And I sent him a quick video. And Chad, I was talking to Chad, and Chad gave him a call. Got him calling his phone. I said, is this true? And here's Jimmy. He's 4 deep, right, Clinton? And he's signing autographs, and he's telling stories about trying to wreck Lee Petty and how him and Rex White would carouse and all stuff. And he walked up to me and said, pretty emotional. And he says, I don't understand why you're doing this. I don't understand why you're doing this for me. And I'm trying to explain to the man that he's a bloody living icon. Like he is. I encourage anybody who's listening, if you're at a racetrack And Adam and Clinton will back me up because they've called me out on more stuff than I care to shake a stick at. If you're at a racetrack, folks, and you see Jim Bray, you can't miss him. He'll be wearing a purple shirt, or a pink purple shirt that matches his 56 car. It's a 60 Starliner with a 352 Interceptor in it. I guarantee you, all you have to do is ask him to tell you a story. If it's not the time of your life, now you might hear it 3 times. It's okay, but you might hear it 3 times, but it's all right. It's amazing. So anyway,
Jim won't take your praise. All he wants to do is give. Like, all he wants to do is, and my favorite, what I like about Jim Bray even more than his stories, is when he corrects false history. Like,
Yeah.
that man will call out and he's got to be right. Nobody can speak with that much confidence about the things he has lived through and seen and done himself and not be factual. He's an amazing man.
I have watched, for your viewers to know, and I asked them to do this, I have watched him correct Richard Petty. Physically, I was there in the room, and the King looked at Jim and said, Jim, you're right about that. How did you know? Jim looked him in the eye and said, because I was running right behind your father when he tried to wreck you. Now, I didn't ask Jim how many laps he was down, by the way, but it is what it is. That's, but it doesn't really matter. It was actually kind of cool, but hopefully I answered your question, Clint. It's a tough one because he actually signed a hero card. The story about how I met Jim is I saw his car the one day and we talked about it, and I told him my dad ended up buying a Mercury because he loved going to the first Mosport race and he saw these big Fords run. And at the end of Sunday night, he walked up to me with a hero card, and my dad passed about 10 years ago, and he wrote on it, to Tony's dad from Jim Bray. Thanks for the support. And I've got very specific instructions from Jim as to what I'm to do with that card.
That's awesome. I just sent Spencer a picture of the car, so we'll try and get that on. Last one I got for you, Tony, before we let you go.
Yes, sir.
There's Jimmy in the car he had out, and it's amazing. It's still got the trap doors, so you can check tire wear, front and back. I had enough time around Jim on the weekend. I got up close to the car. What a beaut. Tony, before we let you go,
Yes,
Canada's
sir.
kind of been its own entity as NASCAR Canada for the past, however long, many years it's been now, since it took over from CASCAR. But now we're hearing more about NASCAR Canada in relation to NASCAR Mexico, NASCAR Brazil, NASCAR International, NASCAR Europe. What's that going to mean for these teams around here in the long haul as we branch out as a very prestigious branch of the NASCAR deal tied into these other series?
Amazing question. You did your homework. The first thing we have to talk about here is, of the ones you've mentioned, Clinton, NASCAR Canada is the only one that's wholly owned by NASCAR. So all of the other versions we're talking about, Brazil, Mexico, and Europe, at NASCAR, we have a partner in the market. So truly, we are the skunk works. So NASCAR Canada is the skunk works. It kind of drives, I know it drives you off the deep end when folks talk about NASCAR's investment in Canada. My typical response to that is, just so you understand, nowhere else in the world outside of the US does NASCAR 100% own a series, and it is right here in Canada. We can always do more. There's no question all about it. So that's the first thing. I think if I was to foreshadow something, it wouldn't take much for someone to go online and take a look. Every one of those series runs a slightly different vehicle. The series are now, when you look at it, I'm on a call every other week with all my counterparts from around the world. Every other week is one group as NASCAR International. All of us general managers and shareholders or partners are on a call. And there, I could envision a place very, very easily whereby, I'm not going to say we'd have a 100% ubiquitous car, but I could see us getting to a point where it's very easy for an LP Dumoulin or a JF Dumoulin to say, hey, I'm going to go down and run 4 or 5 races in Europe, Brad's Hatch or Monza or whatever. I can go down and do that, fully sanctioned by NASCAR, same licenses, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's a really cool opportunity for us to actually become part of the world marketplace of NASCAR. There's a lot of investment, and I think I've said it on your show before, like, the US continues to grow, but the real growth for NASCAR, in my mind, is worldwide. So we're a pretty important cog of that because we're the skunk works. It might take us a little longer. It might take us a little longer to sort of get something approved, like the new motor or a rule change or something, because we're part of that big group. But the upside to it is truly tremendous if you're part of the series.
Right on, Tone.
Clint, did you see Franny's comment?
About drunk history? Yes, I love it.
Yes. What? No, stop it. You didn't love it on the weekend when I suggested it to you.
You didn't say it as
Drunk?
pretty as Franny did.
You're so
Drunk
full of
history?
it now. Now that it's Franny, it's a great idea. Which Franny, it is a great idea. But when I pitched it to Clint and said sometime we should just do a bunch of shots on the show and really let loose, but I learned in Mexico Clinton doesn't like to drink with me.
I can't keep up.
Adam, I don't know what kind of a diet you're on, dude, but you got to do something.
Oh, I love the idea of drunk history. I just don't want to host it. But you and Franny getting drunk would be hilarious. Let's run the NPS promo here. We'll just get Tony to smile on the way out. Hang around, watch this one, Tony, and then we'll cut you loose. This is currently running on TSN right now, provided to us by our friend Joel at Fuel Media. Let's check out what's running on TSN to promote the series. Gives me and Adam goosebumps every time we see it. Let's roll it.
You know,
Drivers,
sometimes
start your engine!
life can get rough. Fire now, but I won't be burned. I was waiting for this and now it's my turn. Sweat on my face, blood in my eyes. Been underground, now I aim for the skies. Now you can last longer.
Oh my goodness!
Gang up there on top of each other.
Holy moly, what a show!
Love it.
Very
Get you
cool.
pumped
Thanks
up.
for
I don't know what to say.
Thanks for coming to see us, Tony. Thanks so much. Those promos are phenomenal. The fact that you can see them while you're watching the Daytona 500, while you're watching the Cup Series at Las Vegas. I mean, the things, the places that NASCAR and you, because this really, these sort of things started happening after Tony Spiteri and Pinty's got involved with NASCAR, right? And I remember you saying that, I believe it was the very first meeting at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, where he said, we are going to start to promote you. We're going to start to build you as the stars. And it carries on. I know we're paying you a lot of lip service, Tony, but it's because it's true. Like this is exciting. So thank you.
Listen, you guys do way more. And I said it this weekend on an interview. Like, the media doesn't get enough credit. Joel doesn't get enough credit for what he does. You guys don't get enough credit for what you do. The photographers, Derek Smith, and man, I saw Paolo Petticelli, Dale Callan. Those are the folks that don't get enough credit for what they do. So thank you for taking too much of your time. Anytime you guys need something, please reach out.
Right on,
Oh,
Tony.
we do.
Thank you for your friendship and guidance also. We appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Tony
Father
Spiteri?
Tony Spiteri.
Father Tony. Oh my goodness. Godfather Tony.
Yeah.
Let's jump
And he's
into
been full disclosure, Clinton. I'm sorry, but
oh, good.
he's been a fabulous mentor to you, to me. Probably more of a mentor to you, but a huge supporter of mine. The opportunities that have found their way in my direction, he had a lot to do with a lot of them. So we owe a great debt, but I think everyone should appreciate what he brings to this sport in Canada, because it has never been brought to this extreme before.
Definitely excited for what the long-term future holds. If you know Tony, it's a long-term plan always. And it takes a little bit to get there, but man, the results have been great for us and our relationships. Let's bring on another guy who just got a new corporate relationship, and we wish him all the best. Coming back full force to the series and doing a lot of racing. Junior Farrell, he's going to join us now to talk about his new deal. Junior, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So, Junior, let's get right into it. I know that's a TQ midget in the background, but that's not going to be the focal point of this project. Talk about your new partnership and talk about what it's going to allow you to do in 2023.
Yes, for sure. We were able to secure some sponsorship partnership agreement with Burn Canada, Burn Workwear, and PV Mart Stores of Canada. So we just announced that at the Motorama show this past weekend, and very excited to be joining the APC series back full time.
That's a pretty full card. Junior, some guys look at it two ways. It either distracts and makes it tough to concentrate on both. Other guys make the most of this seat time and are able to put it together. The TQ Midgets are very technical, fast machines. You think that's going to help your APC program?
Yeah, I think anytime you can get behind the wheel of anything, whether it's a go-kart, TQ, any type of motorsports you can run, I think it's going to make you stronger. You look at you look at Larson, you look at some of the dirt guys, how versatile they are. It's not quite the same just being on pavement all the time, but I think any time behind the wheel definitely can help.
Junior, talk about the pivot that you have made in the last 3 to 4 years, because now, if I'm not mistaken, you still have your super modified, or did you sell that?
No, I'm staring at it right in front of me here. It's up. It's just hopefully we can get it out by the end of the year. And the goal is to practice with it this year. This new deal kind of steered us in another direction, and finding partners to go down south, even 5 hours away. It's pretty difficult. So we're just gonna keep piecing it together. It's getting close, and the goal would be to definitely turn some laps this season.
So Clint, to fill you in, you purchased it before COVID or right at the beginning of COVID, Junior?
Yeah, right at the beginning of COVID, it was actually being raffled. It was a car that was run that former classic that I went down to Oswego and I'd watched it. I knew it was a good piece, and then it took probably a better part of a year even to get it across the border. And then I'm sure everybody's been wondering what I've been doing with it, but it's not a cheap piece to put together. So doing our best, and we're still racing and having fun north of the border back home.
So Clinton, I wanted to fill you in on that, because can you imagine having the most badass race car in the world, and I firmly believe a super modified is that, in your shop, and all you can do is look at it, because through the pandemic you couldn't even cross the border. So Junior's had that on the go and built a successful now late model program, which I'll turn it over to you, Clint, here in a second, right after I say, Junior, I'm so glad you've got a late model program, because the races are fun with you in them. I like your style of racing. You're a hard-nosed driver, and we need more of that. So I'm pretty pumped up that you'll be on the series all year. Clinton, what do you got?
I just want to talk about, some lifestyle changes. Junior, trying to be healthier, live healthier, be stronger. That's going to help you too. Do you feel like, as you get older, is that something you need to do to compete against these young kids that are hot shoes out there on the circuit right now?
Yeah, for sure. Not getting any younger, obviously. Been doing this a long time. So I think you're kidding yourself if you're not in the best shape that you can be in, and as sharp as you can be working out and trying to have a good physical conditioning program. So I've kind of slacked a little bit the last month or so, but got to get back into race shape here over the next month. And definitely down. Last year we lost 80 pounds, so I was getting pretty big. I probably wouldn't have even gotten a TQ. Never mind drive one. I wouldn't have been able to even clear the roll bar. So yeah, it's just exciting to get back into shape and try some different racing vehicles.
Junior, as tough as the competition is in the APC series, where do you set your goals? What are you setting out to do this year?
Yeah, that's tough. It's a tough series. It's not getting any easier. I think when we ran it, we started back in 2017 and ran it 18, 19. And it's only evolved since then. I mean, I think last year we ran 3 races, qualified 10th once, and the other times we were in high teens. And, as frustrating as that is, you're only a 10th off or a 10th and a half off the pole sometimes. So you got to be on your game. You just, you can't falter. So you got to have all your I's dotted, T's crossed, and you have to have a good program and good people surrounding you to support you.
Junior, I want to talk about the corporate end of things. As a lot of people see, big corporations on 2 race cars now. Is that something you have an agent help you with, or is that something you, head out and do yourself? And either way, is there any advice you have to someone else who's trying to break into the corporate world?
No, I've been able to secure this on my own. But saying that in 20 years, this is like the first real corporate sponsor that I've been able to obtain. I've had lots of good support through friends and family that have had companies in the past, but this is the first time we've actually reached out and been able to get some names like PV and Burn Workwear. So I did take marketing in school, so I do have a bit of a background in it. I'm always, listening, watching what you guys do, watching just what everybody's doing in different series, and a little behind the curve on some of the technical stuff. I was kind of panicking, wondering if my Zoom call was going to go through, to be honest with you, because I was just seeing it just kept spinning. So got a lot to learn, a lot to polish up on with some of this stuff, but I look forward to learning and having fun with it.
You were piecing this together, and I thought you were on the right track for what it's worth. The hardest part is getting a foot in the door. Once you've got that foot in the door, and let me tell you, if there was a most improved award for someone with their public speaking, you've come a long way, man. There were times when you would. I knew Junior for probably 5 years, Clinton, before I heard a sound come out of his mouth, and I'm not kidding you. Junior, would you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. I always get razzed on that. Everybody used to talk through my eyebrows, kind of talking at the ground, and just occasionally look up and make eye contact. But trying to do my best with it, trying to come out of my shell a little bit, naturally, obviously. And it's something you got to be able to do to be successful and to be able to race, because it's not getting any cheaper, and it's a necessary evil for sure. You have to be able to do it.
See, I don't know that side of Junior, because we always, anytime we hung out, it was late at night after the races, and we were pretty rambunctious, having a good time.
He was 8 years old when I'm talking, so he hadn't started the party, and that didn't start till he was 12.
Super proud of you, though, Junior. Congrats, man. This is a great deal to see you be able to put these two great companies on multiple race cars, and hopefully you have the great seasoning, and we'll be right there to watch along with you.
I appreciate it. And I just want to give a shout out to Shaw Motorsports. So we will be running their chassis again this year, and excited to work with Dale and Jason.
Right on. And the car is beautiful, Junior, by the way. I saw some pictures of it, and it is a beautiful piece. So we'll look forward to seeing you at the racetrack.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Junior Farrelly, guys, new deals in the works with Burn Workwear and PV Mart, so make sure you check them out on speedways this summer, whether you're at the TQ Midgets or with the APC Series.
A smooth speaker. And I mean, I think he's more eloquent than he knows, Clint, because he does talk at a great pace, easy to understand. Good dude.
Well, next dude's ready shortly here. Larry Jackson's going to be joining us to talk about his new deal as well, re-signing with O'Neill Electric. And, Larry's one of the great guys. We hang out with him out on the tour, just a all-around good dude. I got to talk to him yesterday as we were helping him get set up for some hospitality stuff with O'Neill's for the Oshweekend race. And I said, "What's going on, man?" He said, "Not much, just saving basements all night, out there hard working." And our very own hero, Larry Jackson.
We have to give him a chance for Paris to get out of the screen, because I know Larry didn't set up this call himself.
He's got
looking
color
at
coordinated and everything. Bring him on if he's ready.
Like a monkey trying to find a spaceship. There you go, Larry. What's going on, man?
No, just living the dream and preparing for the season. How about you boys?
We're doing the same thing here, man. Well, except for the preparing. We just hit it when it starts. What do you prepare for?
I meant the season, kind of.
Larry, let's talk about the season coming up. It's not that far away. As you prepare to get ready for it, what's the biggest thing you're working on these days?
Oh, we're getting ready for your track, actually. We're getting a dirt car, purpose-built dirt car, ready for the 84 team. We're going to have three cars for myself that will be hopefully 100% ready to go. We're going to have dirt, road, and oval car all set up, ready to go.
Larry, would you say your focus at this point is on your race car driving, or is it on building a race team? Because you keep amassing more and more inventory. What do you take more pride in?
I think combination of both. I think I'm coming to the end of my career. Thank goodness for O'Neill. They put their support behind myself again this year. And yeah, we got to set up for the future as well. It's time to pay back with the youngins like Matthew and, maybe an oldie like Jason White, or we've had a few irons in the fire right now. We're hoping that something comes together. I do love racing. I kind of listen to you guys talk about being fit, like Junior got there, getting all fit and losing, what do you say, 80 pounds?
Yeah.
I could probably lose a few and get a little more prepared for this season, but some reason these cars don't get built by themselves. So it's just my work is 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours or 20 hours in the shop getting these things prepared. And I had a little boo-boo with my foot there. I was behind the 8 ball for 3 months with a broken foot, but we're full steam ahead right now.
Larry, let's talk about your new deal. It's always great when someone like O'Neill steps up to the plate like they did last season. To get them to come back shows you're doing something right. We see the shirt on there. Talk about how that deal come together. And the other thing I caught you talking about is, the family aspect of it. You said, the owners of that, if you know them, your family, and that's going to make things a bit easier too.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, like I always tell people, it was a cold call 3 years ago to Mike O'Neill, and just seemed timing with COVID, and they had an opportunity to do small sponsorship at first. We got together for the first year, and they embraced my whole team, my family as their family, and any customer, vendor, anybody's ever dealt with O'Neill Electric Supply in their 3 locations becomes family. It's crazy. All these vendors are friends, and we go to all these counter days, which Mike O'Neill's always got the best veal sandwiches, or he's got a beaver tail trailer, or he's got ice cream, he's got unlimited pop, and it just, everything he does is top notch. When we had 460 people at CTMP this year, it was, the food the year before wasn't good enough. He wanted roast beef sandwiches. He wanted it fully catered. He wanted TVs. He wanted flowers. He wanted the tabletops to be the best they could be, the linens. He likes everything to be 100%, and he gives back to his family, as we consider ourselves and the vendors as family, to the O'Neill family.
Larry, last year was a challenge for you. A lot of it out of your control. So, and luck goes like that. It goes in cycles. But I want to completely change gears here, because what we're seeing right now, this is the Larry Jackson that most race fans will have known for the last 10 to 20 years. I want to know, given some of the hardships that you've encountered, what's it going to take for Larry to drive with a fire under his butt? Like what's it going to take for you to get angry behind the wheel, get worked up, and just go Incredible Hulk on the field?
I hope that's still in there. I think we're going to get the cars prepared a lot better than they were last year. The oval car it's been a little bit of a challenge. It should be my specialty. We do everything in house. I think we're a little behind the front end setup until this year. I think we've caught up to everybody. We've lightened the cars up. We went down to North Carolina and bought a new Renton spring, and we think it's the right one this time, and yeah, there's a couple little issues that we need to fix, but I think that car will be quite decent. The road course car, I think I might be a little bit of the missing link in the road course car. We got a fresh spec motor for that car. It should be pretty decent. And then when it comes to dirt, I'm hoping to get out and try my best. And I quite thoroughly enjoyed that last year. So I think I know what to do, and we'll give it the best shot that we can. Yeah, I got a little fire in me still. Just hit my back bumper a few times. There's a couple
I believe it's there. Yeah, I believe it's in there. Yes, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, you know what? The fire's still there. We're not done yet. been building this team up for the last few years, and it just it really hurts me to destroy a car or really put it into something that shouldn't be for a point or a little bit of money. Yeah, I think we got enough inventory now and enough equipment that we can take chances and run a little harder now.
Larry, let's talk about, we hear in the NASCAR Cup Series and those divisions about tactical alliance. Who are some of the teams that you rely on to help you out or help you get to some of the bigger events? Logistics, travel. Is there someone you're looking to say, hey, what do I got to do to stay on top of this deal?
Yeah, and like a thank you. We were lining up Eastbound Speedway, and Scott Steckley reached out. My car will be traveling in his trailer to Eastbound Speedway. My big brother John Fletcher is always helping me out with a new trick or a new some used equipment, and hey buddy. You know what, there's always somebody. Larry Jackson has parts from every team in the NASCAR series. We don't need them as much as we used to. We're on our own 2 feet now, and we seem to be buying a lot newer, better equipment every year. We've upgraded a bunch of stuff this year, so we always rely on teams. It's always nice to get a hand up, I guess. But we're getting there. We're hoping that we're not hoping. We're fine. We're going to be good this year.
Larry, that's not entirely true, because I've seen a lot of teams come to the Larry Jackson trailer to borrow parts, and they come in transport trucks, and here's Larry with his smaller unit, but he's got what the competitors need. So I've seen plenty of equipment come out of your trailer to support other racers. It's all reciprocal, right?
That's true. We bring what's needed. I've been doing this for 34 years, so we usually sometimes we come with a spare motor, but most times I think we have everything needed to succeed. I think. I hope. We had 2 issues last year, and I think one part was $3.58. It was a brake line fitting, and a $300 axle. Like, that was brand new out of the box, like 3 days before that. So this sport can humble you quite quickly.
All right, before we let you go, Larry, we got
Yes,
one
sir.
very important question. Since we're calling a lot of the races this year, we need to know what we're supposed to call you. In the comments so far, you've been Action Jackson, Captain Larry, Electrifying Larry Jackson. Adam, you want to throw it in there before we let him pick what we're supposed to call him all summer?
No, I don't know that those are all the nicknames that I know of Larry, unless there's some I'm missing.
No. There's probably a few that my wife would mention there, but not very flattering. But
I just can't picture Adam Ross saying, hey, here comes Buttercup into turn 1 at the opener at Sunset, So maybe we just better keep it all together.
I think the older ones are fine. Let's bring the action back. I used to be Action Jackson back in the day, or Liquid Larry. I think Kate Lynch used to call me. I used to drive quite aggressively at Kawartha Speedway and in my late model and modified days. Now, I guess I had lots of time to work on the cars back then, and I didn't mind repairing them. And yeah, I was probably a little bit.
Here's where we're at, Adam. Larry's got an abundance of parts. You just told us. Time to get off the wallet, get up on the wheel, and wreck some shit. Okay, we'll be all right.
Listen, we're gonna be Liquid Larry Liquid Larry had nothing to do with the moves you made on the track. It had to do with how lubricated you were after the races.
I plead the 5th on that, Adam. I plead the 5th.
There you go, man. Always. Hey, I don't know why this crossed my mind. I actually regret opening my mouth and starting this, but people are talking about Captain Larry because you're a firefighter. Has there ever been Larry Jackson, the firefighter, in a calendar? Like these are things that pop into my mind in your younger years.
I might have done it once or twice. Yeah.
Oh, we gotta find those pictures.
It's for charity, always for charity, right? And I was
Magic Jackson. Does that ever ring to it?
I might have been the month of love one year.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there you go. The search is on.
Yeah.
See, I'm glad I opened my mouth.
Yeah, your eyes will burn if you see that. It's sad, very sad. So
no, here's what I'm throwing out there to the G-Force and viewing universe. if anybody comes up with Larry as the month of love calendar, I'll give you passes to any races you want, 4 of them at Ush Weekend with pit passes. Now, if it's signed, 4 pit passes for the entire year. Bring it up. Let's have it. I'm not even kidding.
That's
Let's do
awesome.
this. All
You
right,
heard
Larry.
it here, folks.
Oh, I'm
Larry,
so
thanks
sorry.
for stopping by.
Anytime, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Mike O'Neill, thank you. Everybody, can't wait for the season to start. It's less than 8 weeks away. Let's go.
Driver the O'Neill Electric, number 84, Action Jackson. Larry Jackson
Nice.
out of Oakville, Ontario, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks
Thanks,
Larry.
guys.
Good dude. Fireman. Hero saving lives. Breaking hearts.
Has a lot of fun.
Turning laps. I can
Yeah,
hear it now.
big.
Adam, we got a couple things to jump through here. First off, let's talk Plenty of Fish. We met a
One
couple
of my favorites. Yes.
at the Motorama show. You can take it away.
So, Jerry Reese and his significant other are at the show. They're at Ush Weekend Speedway pretty much every Friday. Jerry was a go-kart racer for a long time. Super people. I don't even remember how this came up, but they talked about getting together. They met on Plenty of Fish. Jerry had a profile on Plenty of Fish, and his headline was, "If you know what sprint car racing is, look me up." But the better part of the story, Clinton, is she didn't know what sprint car racing was. She had to message her son, and they Googled it. So she reached out that way, and now she is hooked on sprint car racing, and she is hooked on Jerry Reese. But I just thought that was a phenomenal story.
Yeah, they were telling me they were DJ Christie fans. So, good to see it. Let's talk about our Burger Barn video of the week. This was a crazy thing, Adam. So, and the G-Force thing, we've talked about covering drag racing, maybe some, snowmobile racing. Then the ice racing came out about 2 months ago. And we're like, wow, do you want to go do that? And we're like, no, because I wouldn't want to have what happened happen to these guys. So, I don't know, Spencer, do we have multiple videos, pictures? What do we got here? Kanawaki ice racing. Let's show the clip.
What I want to know as we watch this, what is the function of the co-driver?
I don't know, but they're driving out here. I'm not sure how far we are, but 2 cars go through the ice here, and this is insane. I assume you have it clipped up, right, Spencer?
So yeah.
Okay.
So you can see there's a driver and a co-pilot. They're communicating. No gloves on. I believe
Ballast.
Derek White was. Wait
like
until
it.
they hit the big bump. There's a huge bump out of turn number 2.
But yeah, this is every ice racer's fear. I would assume. I've never even done it, but I cannot imagine this. Looks like fun until now. Oh my goodness! Now you're swimming.
Now watch them out the windshield. How fortunate are they that they were to get up on the hood and dive to safety? Here's the driver of this one having to go over the right side of the car.
Oof.
And this is everyone's greatest fear. Like, you can't tell me otherwise.
Oh, I think that freaks me out more than fire. I think. I don't know. Both scary as heck, but wow. So here's the pictures, submerged cars. They did fish them out.
Cam,
Which
it's
is
not
just
Dexter's track. It's the
insane.
St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing photo.
So
there.
Dusty
Yeah,
DeBoer
like you
says
said.
he thought one of the videos of the week would be the driver taking the fire stinger off the safety truck on the weekend, and I believe that was the ASA race. Now, we have a few videos from that. We had an action-packed show of drivers and Tony who were, current. But Dusty, we're going to work on those videos. And you know who I saw in the videos, Adam? So there was a fight. Bubba Pollard got into it with another driver in
You noticed
Tech.
him too, did you?
Jumped him from behind. Yeah, Matt Weaver, our Matt Weaver, who's on the show all the time, is standing right there filming. So next week, we will get Matt Weaver on to go over all the videos and unpack what happened at the ASA race last week. There's more coming up shortly. Bubba Pollard, I saw, got fined and docked points, but they're still going to let them race the next race, which is a whole discussion thing about at what point do you throw them out for good. Casey Roderick, yes, got jumped by Bubba. You know,
I was impressed. I was impressed at how the security de-escalated the situation. You
but
allow a
none of the
little bit
videos
of
I saw started. Like they were already picking them up off
no,
the ground by the time.
right, but there's all those people around shouting and hollering. They're allowing some screaming and yelling, but they're not allowing for more fisticuffs, and I thought that's pretty good. On the other hand, I've never liked having to have law enforcement as security. I mean, there is a problem with asphalt racing in the United States. And I believe it's more in the United States than it is in Canada. This is a recurring theme. It's a recurring theme at big late model races. You see some of the same names involved. Like, what does it take? At what point do you sort your shit out?
Yeah, like we've shown videos on here in the past where cops have their guns drawn and people are still jumping in, throwing knuckles down in the States. Stuff that we wouldn't really get, away with up here. So, wow, another wild show. An hour flies by just that quick.
It was great to have Tony on. He's put a lot into it, and I think we're going to see the results of that when the season kicks off a little bit in just a couple of months. I'm pumped up, Clinton. Our season is full. It is busy, but pretty much every event we're going to is the event I want to be at on that given night. You know what I mean? Like we're going to be at all the big ones.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're excited with everything we've got going on. Just to touch up on a couple things. I did speak to Terry Vince from Humberstone. He does have the schedule being worked on, and it should be out any day now. I know they were just prettying it up. It's all been finalized. So by the time we get on the air next week, you should see the Humberstone Speedway scheduled out. To answer Derek's, we will not be live at the Ontario SOS race in April. We will have a team there to cover it, though, and it'll air a couple days later. Other than that, on GeForce Lite. Anything else?
No, you hung in real good, man. You sounded awful this afternoon, but you pulled it together.
Yeah, I picked up some kind of head cold, but drinking the water and hitting the cough button, we made it through without disrupting. So we appreciate everybody stopping by. It's always great. We're here to kind of carry us through the off season, and it's almost over. And then, man, we're gonna have some real good stuff to talk about, better clips and everything. We appreciate you hanging out.
It's like working a rain delay, right? You've got some stuff to say, but really what we're here for is the action. We live for being at the racetrack, so we do what we can through the off season, and we keep each other company, and that's all we can do. But I'm ready to go racing.
One final shout out: the Merrittville Mall Show is happening right now. If you're in the Niagara region, stop down to Penn Center, check out some of the race cars from Merrittville. That does it for us. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Spencer, for stopping by and helping everything you do each and every week, plus our guests who joined us tonight, Tony, Jr., and Larry. If there's anybody you want to see on the show, Kyle Tomaski did talk about Spencer Boyd. We're going to talk some drag racing coming up next week as well. Stick with us. We'll be around. See you next week.